Hello and welcome into the Jon and Lebo show. John Sokoloff here with Alex Lebowitz. Alex, we've got a lot on our plate today. A lot of interesting topics to talk about. The NBA Finals, a little recent David Price news, and also our latest poll of punchable athletes. We put as our people Kelly Olynyk, Sidney Crosby, and Cutler, not
Jay
Crowder.
Crowder. I do not want to punch Jay Crowder.
And then we had a other option of people DMing. I've got a ton of DMs and texts about it, so we'll get to those later. But first, let's just start out. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. I'm upset with this NBA Finals.
Yeah,
It seems that every time the Red Sox start doing well, they slip a little bit. But other than that, doing well. No complaints.
yeah. We have Game 5 actually. If you're upset about the NBA Finals, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight between the Predators and the Penguins. And Game 4 was incredible with the Predators pulling it out. It looked so crazy in Nashville, nuts. I would love to go to one of those and just see the atmosphere. Charles Barkley was there in NBC attempt to really get the ratings up.
Yeah, they have Carrie Underwood and Chuck. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna put them over the top. Maybe you should play the Olympics and broadcast your games on ESPN first.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Chuck provided a lot of great hockey commentary to Wayne Gretzky in his press box. I thought it was hilarious that he was on there. But also, it's so funny that he was on there because one, on 94 WIP, like station, sports talk radio station in Philly. Obviously, you're familiar with it. The guys were talking about how bad the intermission, the pregame and postgame shows were, and just how it was just hilarious how like local programming shows than that, and it's like a national broadcast for like the biggest stage in hockey. I found that I lost it when I was listening to that, and then what happens all of a sudden at night, and weirdly in the second intermission, Charles Barkley comes
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's stale. Like Mike Milbury just doesn't do it for me. I don't even know if that's the. I haven't been watching a lot of the intermission shows. I think intermission shows, halftime shows. I'd never watch them. I don't care. I don't think they're that informative. You kind of break down the game a little bit, but I'm not like that's when I go to the bathroom and get more food. That's my time to do that.
Well, the only reason why people I think watch the TNT ones is because Charles and Shaq, like you don't look for them for insight on the game. You look to see who's going to bitch out the other one better.
I'm just waiting for one of them to. I'm watching to see if they'll fight. I want to see them drop.
It's
drop
hilarious.
fist.
But all right, I got to get this off my chest. I briefly mentioned this to you before. This is my opinion, and I think you agree with me here. If you're with the whole stupid comparisons of the NBA and NHL playoffs that I've heard on Twitter all the time, which I guess you can, but it's just so stupid. If you're a basketball fan, you'll like the NBA playoffs more. You can't avidly follow the NBA and NHL. One of them takes precedent for you. You like one of them more than another. That's just how it goes. If you're a basketball fan, you like the NBA playoffs more. If you're a hockey fan, and you're an NHL fan, you like the NHL playoffs more. If you're a casual fan who doesn't know much and doesn't follow either that much during the season, just like casually watches it, if you go to an event and the game's on, or you casually talk with the dudes or the girls about it at whatever, okay, great. You'll mention it. You'll like the hockey playoffs more because they're more exciting, obviously, and there's a higher chance of like an 8 seed beating a 1 seed or an upset. That's just how it is. If you're casual, you like it more. All these NHL like people on Twitter saying NHL playoffs way better than this garbage that is the NBA playoffs. Oh my God, it's crazy. I think it's just NHL fans being insecure that no one cares about hockey nearly as much as they care about the NBA. That's just a fact. If you look at the ratings, that's just a fact. So the fact that they just feel so insecure about it that they have to tweet that their sport's better to try to let people know and whatever. I just think it's dumb.
It's a clear inferiority complex. It's the NBA is number one during the winter. That's the sport that more people watch and more people enjoy. I don't think it's far fetched to say that the NHL playoffs is a lot more exciting, though. You have a 2-2.
It 100% is.
It is. So, but it's all preference. I'm more of an NBA fan, so I'm watching way more of the NBA playoffs than I am NHL playoffs. But I can admit the NBA playoffs stink. Like I don't like it. I don't like what I've seen at all this playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs, on the other hand, they've been exciting. They usually are. It's more competitive, but it's also a different sport. So that's going to happen. And the NHL, anyone can win on any given night. And that's no hot take. That's just the truth. The NBA, it's usually the more talented team is going to win. And there's not very many exceptions. And we saw that last night.
Yeah, I just think there's more NBA fans than NHL fans. Ratings show for it. And the huge Twitter debate or people tweeting about it to try to defend that league it's just sad to me. You would never see someone tweet, "Oh, the NBA playoffs are way better than the NHL playoffs," even if it was a year where they were, because they already know that it gets the more rating. They don't have the to defend themselves as much. But yeah, going back to your point, that's true. Look at the other night. Look at these two series we have. We have Cavs Warriors, which obviously I like more than Predators Penguins because I'm more of a basketball guy. Cavs Warriors is 3-0. Predators Penguins is going into a huge Game 5 tonight where it's 2-2. So obviously that one's more exciting. So the casual fan will like it more.
And it's also if you look at where these two leagues are heading, the NHL is kind of screwed simply because of Gary Bettman. That's really what NHL fans should be focusing their attention on. The fact that Gary Bettman has screwed their league out of, the ESPN contract, the Olympics now, and the players hate him, fans hate him, media hates him. No one likes the guy. And in the NBA, you have the rubber match, the series everyone was waiting for. And it's on, and the Cavaliers are on the verge of getting swept. So for the next 3, 4, 5 years, we have nothing to really look forward to in the NBA. We know it's going to happen. It's going to be Golden State every single year for the next 4 or 5 years, and it's going to be boring to watch. That's my hot take heading into today. The NHL, you have the Nashville Predators who are in the Stanley Cup Finals, a Southern team that their venue is super loud. The fans are getting into it. Second wildcard team, an 8 seed that sweeps the 1 seed in the Blackhawks, and now they're tied 2-2 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're bringing a fan base, a rejuvenated fan base, into hockey. Now people in Nashville are starting to catch on to the NHL, and that's great. The NBA, on the other hand, unless you're a Golden State Warriors fan, this has not been a good playoff.
It has not, and obviously, I think you're right to an extent with how you say it really hasn't been a great playoff. And I think that you're right when you say they don't have much looking forward to. I think that applies more to a more casual basketball fan, as in a guy that you have a team, you don't watch every night, you're not that into it, you just watch, to be entertained from time to time. Then I think it's ruined for them. But for other guys that just love the game, like me, like you, guys that love the game, guys that love watching their team, love watching what they build, what they do, trades, drafts, whatever, I still think it's an exciting league, and I still think that witnessing this greatness and taking it for what it is great. But you watched the game last night, right?
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a really good game.
Unreal. The Cat, it was just so refreshing to have a very good finals game because the first two were entertaining and exciting, but weren't close in the end, and we knew that. The Cavs last night played the best and most ideal game that they could, and they still fell short. Kevin Love was a defensive powerhouse, rebounding machine. He had 6 steals last night.
He also only went 1 for 7 from the field. He hit 1 3-pointer, and that was his offensive production. Besides Kyrie and LeBron James, no one on the Cavaliers offensively did diddly squat. They had no options outside of those two.
Yeah, but Kevin Love, that just shows you the type of player he is. He was 1 for 7, and he didn't score much, but he was still getting it done. He was still one of their more valuable players. J.R. Smith, on so much last season, got a 4-year, $60 million deal, had 3 points the first 2 games. And I remember it. It was the first possession of game 1. He had a 3. That was it. And now last night he was on fire. He was hitting shots too. He was another spark plug on their offense, which they need. They need other guys to score, step up, whatever. I think they even missed Dellavedova a little bit, but whatever. Richard Jefferson, he played quality minutes last night too. With I know he had 1 point and 2 rebounds, but the guy was hustling everywhere. And he was such a facilitator on offense. Korver dunked.
Yeah.
Dunking. I haven't seen him dunk in forever. When he was on the Sixers forever, the Bulls, I haven't seen him dunk in so long. I think I saw later he has 15 overall dunks in his career. I had no idea that he had even 2. Kyrie was Kyrie. LeBron was LeBron. And besides a little bit more bench production, everything went great for Cleveland.
What about Tristan?
They fell just short. Tristan Thompson was horrible.
Awful. He's not shown up at all. He has been exposed this series. It's for me, they have role players, but the reality is, outside of that big three of Kyrie, Kevin Love, and obviously LeBron James, they're just not super deep. This is another stat I saw. When LeBron James did not play, he played 46 minutes. The 2 minutes he did not play, the Cavaliers were minus 12. They were outscored by 12 points in 2 minutes that LeBron James was not on the floor.
Right.
I think that speaks volume to just how good LeBron is. It also speaks volume as to how good this Golden State Warriors team is. I think this is the greatest team ever assembled. The argument, would this team beat the 96 Bulls? Yes, they would. They would absolutely beat the 96 Bulls. This is a ridiculous team, and I think that, it's really unfortunate timing for LeBron James at this point in his career. What I want to ask you is, should we take that into consideration when considering LeBron James's legacy? He's about to lose another finals because a team that was assembled that we've never seen the likes of before, and kind of just, ruined his hopes of winning again. Do you take that into consideration when considering the LeBron James legacy?
I think you have to consider more, not that he just played the best team of all time, but how he responded and how his teams did and who he had on his team and how they responded and the games that they won against the best team of all time. That's really what cements a legacy. If he were to beat this team, I think it would be a lot easier to say that he's the best of all time. Warriors team that's the most wins ever in a 3-year span, that has Kevin Durant, a team that broke the record for regular season wins last year, that now has Kevin Durant. So seeing how he responded to that should easily be taken into consideration. But who knows? I mean, if they get swept today, it'll tell you some about LeBron's legacy, but it's really tough for him because I think he's gotten better this year from last year. Finals. But look at the facts. Tristan Thompson, he's been invisible. J.R. Smith, he had a good night last night, but he's deteriorated a little bit. And Deron Williams, like Kyle Korver, these guys, Richard Jefferson, these guys are old, washed up, can't do anything. Tristan Thompson last year played a lot better. So did J.R. Smith. Matthew Dellavedova didn't play that much in the finals, but he was still like another guy to have just in case if they needed him. Kyrie and LeBron and Kevin Love can only do so much. And with no bench production, with no other real second-tier guys to go to, it's not going to bode well for them going up against a Warriors team that was better than what they were last year. Now, maybe that prediction that I had of Golden State in 5, maybe that was too much because last night, after winning that game on the road, any momentum that Cleveland might have had was completely diminished. The Warriors have too much firepower for Cleveland to handle. Klay Thompson, Steph, KD, all these guys on offense, you can't guard them all. You can't. They were doubling Steph last night in the first quarter. What they do, Klay was open away from the ball so much, he had 16 points in the first 7 minutes. That's just how it is. That's how they'll respond. The fourth quarter, KD went off. Steph was going off with some insane shots on the break. They're too much for them to handle, and the fact that the Cavs got worse this year from last year made it just slim their chances of winning this year's finals.
I think it was Steph, KD, and Klay combined for like 87 points. That's absurd. That's right there. You're not going to stop all three of those guys. And we saw it in the first couple of games. Draymond not really doing much offensively. Klay Thompson even wasn't doing much offensively in that first game. But still, they picked up the slack because that's how stacked they are. So let me ask you this. Is there anything that the Cavaliers can do to compete next year? Do you see them making any moves? And is there even any move to make? Because I already said my take. I think the NBA is ruined after this. I think there's no one who's going to compete with Golden State. This is their first season. They're not going to get any worse. They're just going to get more comfortable with each other. And this dynasty is going to last another 4 or 5 years, in my opinion. Do you agree with that, or do you think the Cavaliers can do something, or any other team?
I think they need to make moves in free agency this year. I know they're high on the salary cap, whatever. Do whatever you can to make sure that you can get another free agent or get better role players or just get guys that will come in and take less money to play there. I mean, if you got to trade J.R. Smith to get rid of his $60 million, trade him. You got to trade Tristan, trade him. If LeBron thinks that these guys can't be other pieces for the future, trade them as well. They have so much cap that they've spent, it's ridiculous. So maybe if they landed like a Paul George or a Gordon Hayward, maybe, or a guy like that, maybe like a 2-guard, maybe like, I don't know, J.J. Redick or something that can enhance their offense a little bit more of like a better J.R. Smith. I don't know, but they have to make moves fast because LeBron's deteriorating, and they're down 3-0. He'll be deteriorating these next few years. This year he was unbelievable. But also, you got to look at what they're looking into in this year's free agency. It would be hard to move these guys. That's just how it is. It would be hard to move because who's going to take these contracts? You'll have to give up picks, whatever. They're in a rough situation, especially with his career winding down. But also, games 1 and 2, I saw LeBron. He didn't look as motivated. He was bitching at refs. He wasn't getting back in transition. And if you're going to give these Warriors teams easy looks in transition and not get back, don't have a chance. Why are you not getting back there? Last night, I saw more intensity from him, and I saw him bitching less and getting back more, but it still wasn't enough. So, I don't know, man. This Cleveland team, obviously, they're done this year, but yeah, they got to make moves in free agency or get rid of some guys.
I'm not about to complain about LeBron James. Maybe there's a couple possessions he doesn't get back on defense after, a missed shot. He gets a little discouraged. The guy's playing 46 minutes a game, and he's, 32 years old, and he's been putting up monster numbers, and he is that team. If he doesn't show up for one or two plays, I think it's a concerted effort not to. I don't think it's something he's doing because he's lazy or anything like that. I think it's just, this is the one play I got to take off so that I can conserve energy, whatever. I don't know what his logic is. I'm not going to get on him for that. I think what we have seen, though, is he is a little tired at this point in the season. He's acting like he isn't, but you can play tired and still put up numbers like he has. Because that was his one excuse. I'm averaging a triple-double. I'm not tired. You're probably a little tired, if I had to guess. And again, I go back to a point I made earlier. This is going to affect the regular season. LeBron James sitting out a few games, resting here and there, settling for the 2 seed. That could be moved to a 3 or 4 seed. He could even play less in the regular season to conserve his energy for the playoffs. Right. I could see that because they were tired. Steve Kerr said it. We saw it last night. The reason they didn't finish in the fourth quarter is because they were tired. You can tell me whatever you want. Obviously, it has to do with the differential in talent, but if they're playing at the top of their game, they can beat that team. We saw that in the third quarter. They cannot sustain it. And that's not just because of talent. That's because of energy. That's because of fatigue.
Right. And looking at games 1, and look, I'm not completely criticizing LeBron. Obviously, if they don't have him, they don't make the playoffs. That's just how it is. So I was just saying he needed to get back a little more in game 1 and get back, because bitching at the refs will only take you so far. But I think that we're in store for a game 4 of an angry LeBron James, but he's dug his hole too deep, and this team's obviously they're done. And if he were to come back from a 3-0 deficit, I think it would be the greatest comeback of all time in the history of sports. But
probably,
I don't see it coming at all. You want to move on? Something happened with your boy David Price today. I want to pick your brain about.
Yeah, my boy.
All right, so let's see. His pitching hasn't been good enough for the money he's been getting paid. He's been solid, but obviously $217 million. You got to be a Cy Young candidate, arguably. And Price said that he's done with the Boston media, only talking to them on days that he's pitching. And this is a guy with his tweets, with what we've heard reports of him saying in the dugout, whatnot. He's clearly pretty thin-skinned when it comes to the media, and he can't take criticism well. So if he sees the media as something that will really affect him when it comes to him getting back on track to what he once was, don't you see that as a bad thing? Don't you think that he should have taken into consideration, when he signed with Boston, that it's going to be a more intense and harsh media than when he was in Tampa, Detroit, or Toronto, especially that he has this huge contract?
Well, he was going to sign with St. Louis originally. In the 9th hour, Dave Dombrowski gave him an offer he couldn't refuse, like 500. Yeah, he's the Godfather. He gave him like $500 billion over 7 years. And obviously he's not going to turn down $500 billion over 7 years. So he took the money. You have to understand, you're coming into a Boston market with the biggest contract ever given out in Red Sox history, one of the biggest contracts ever given out in sports history. You're expected to perform. Last year, he was like 17-9, had a 3.99 ERA, and he was like second or first in the league in strikeouts. So he was good. He had a good year. Not what you expect from a guy making $31 million a season, though. And, he had a better year than a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez. The media didn't get on Eduardo Rodriguez. It's not because they like him more than you. It's because you're expected to pitch better than you did. You're expected to be a Cy Young candidate. You weren't. That's it. The reason the Boston media is going off on you, the reason that they're being harsh, the reason the fans are being harsh is because last year you underperformed. This year you get hurt in spring training and you're out for the first 2 months of the season. So we haven't seen anything from you. We haven't seen the money of John Henry. I don't care about his money, but we haven't seen that money go towards good use. You 8 innings. You were good last year. And I would take that this year. But you're going to get criticized. You're just going to get criticized because you're not performing like you have in years past. You clearly declined. And for you to act like the Boston media is the bad guy when you're going on Twitter saying, this is last season, you go on Twitter saying, keep bitching at me, Red Sox fans, until I get it right. Until I'm the pitcher you want. Keep complaining, keep tweeting at me. And he's going on vacation in Hawaii. He tweets out like, he's like in Hawaii with my dog Astro enjoying the beach. I know I haven't won a playoff game. Something like that, like poking fun at himself. Don't be that guy and then turn on the media complaining about them shitting on you too much. It's soft. It's weak. It's something that just speaks volume to the type of guy he is.
I think the Washington Post put it best when they said his tweets are like in an attempt to make fans think that he doesn't care about what they're saying, but it's just also making him look more thin-skinned.
It's like the kid who gets bullied who starts playing around the joke like, yeah, I'm fat, yeah, and then finally he just snaps. He's like, stop it! Like, we thought you were joking around with us. We thought you were on board with this. You're not. Like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. You're an MLB pitcher.
Yeah, and I think last year with his performance in the playoffs, people thought, all right, maybe he'll take that as motivation. He'll work doubly as hard in the offseason. He'll come back next year. He'll be great, and then he'll lead us in the playoffs with Chris Sale, with Porcello, with Rodriguez, with all these guys to help us be a World Series caliber team. And instead of doing that, he's lashing out at the media, and he's really just not taking the criticism well. This isn't going to help him. I think it was saying you're only talking to them when you're pitching. That's not going to help you. That just shows that they're getting to you, and that's going to continue to make them get to you if they only talk to you. Because if they only talk to you when you pitch, they're going to be harsher.
I'm looking forward. He's pitching tonight. I'm looking forward to his press conference. I'm looking forward to what he has to say because he's going to be asked about it. I want to see what he says, and maybe he changes his tune. I wouldn't be surprised because this is a really weak look. The main thing, though, is like the timing of it is weird. It's really weird. He comes back from Pawtucket after pitching a horrible outing. I think he only went 3 1/3, gave up like 4 or 5 runs in the minors. Came back, and he actually did pretty well. 5 innings, like 85 pitches, gave up 3 runs, not horrible. Then the next outing, he goes 7 innings, only gives up 1 run and strikes out like 7. So he's on the right track. It's after that he goes off on the media, and he yells at Evan Drellick, which we should probably mention. Evan Drellick, who is a writer for formerly, I think, the Boston Herald. I think he's now with the Comcast Sportsnet. He had a profanity-laced tirade against him. And it was a lot of F-bombs. Steve Buckley wrote on it of the Boston Globe, or he might be the Herald. And he talked about it, and he pretty much transcribed what went on. And Evan Drellick, who's a respected guy in Boston sports media, called him out for his unprofessionalism. And David Price wasn't backing off. I just don't understand when things are finally going right for you, you feel the need to go off on the media. Like, that's the time where you think it's right. It's never right. That's the real answer. It's never right to do, especially when you're making $217 million from this team.
And pitching is already just such a mentally draining position. The fact that the media is showing that the media gets to you, it just means they're going to come after you harder, that they're only talking to you when you pitch. They're going to come after you harder. That's going to be in the back of his head. Okay, if I don't do well tonight, come at me harder with questions, and I don't want that to happen. So that's going to put more pressure on him, I think.
He never wanted to be in Boston. He complained about racial epithets being thrown his way at Fenway Park when he was with Tampa Bay, which, he's not the first person that's happened to. That's been a problem at Fenway Park. He's happy. He's had problems with David Ortiz, who was the Red Sox leader last year. Obviously, they made up, and he's never pitched in a market that you can compare to Boston. What the Detroit press is really going after him. Like Toronto's a huge baseball town. Their media is really tough. Only if you're on the Maple Leafs, they're tough. So I don't think he's ever dealt with a media presence like he has in Boston. And a media presence that's not only, as harsh, but they're good at what they do. They call out bullshit when they see it. And that's what they've done since he's been in a Red Sox uniform. One of my favorite programs in Boston to listen to is Felger and Maz. They're contrarians, but they have Jimmy Murphy, who's their Jim Murphy, who's their anchor, their update anchor. He's the third host on the show. Excuse me. And he does a David Price impression, and he just completely shits on the guy. It's hilarious, and it's on point. The impression's actually a really good impression. And it pokes fun at how, disingenuous David Price is. He plays this guy who's like, yeah, I'm along with a joke. Like, this is fun. I know I got to pitch better. But then he does this to Evan Drellick, and he goes off on the guy for asking David Price to do what's in his contract. Talk to the media, which you should do. You're getting paid $217 million. $217 million. You're expected to pitch well. You should know going in, if you sign a contract that's that large, you're going to be expected to do good stuff. And when you don't, the media, especially in Boston, is going to be down your throat. That really doesn't exclude any market, but he seems to feel like he should be the exception to that.
I think that he's got to get out of this mental funk that he's in, because once the playoffs come around, when like national media is going to really be on his ass, it's going to be a sad day for Price if he can't get over this. Here, let's get to our poll from this week. So we put out a poll. This is a great idea by you, by the way. Shout out. Obviously, okay, don't push it. Don't push it.
Sorry.
Which athlete has the most punchable face? And we talked about this for a little bit. We decided to put Jay Cutler, Sidney Crosby, and Kelly Olynyk in there. Then we had an other option, and people would DM us rather, or text us, whatever, to say their person and why. And a lot of people had fun with this. I had fun with it too. But you know what I realized? This is a completely true conclusion. No matter what, punchable faces, even if you try your hardest to not to disregard the person that the punchable face is, you can't. No matter what. And even if it's someone you don't know, you picture who they might be. And that person that you're picturing who they might be makes them more punchable. I voted Kelly Olynyk. You know why? I'm a Sixer fan. I hate him. He's ugly. He's gross. He's vile. He's putrid. I'll get a few more adjectives later. But can I just
interrupt? I think Kelly Olynyk gets unfair hate. I think it's a little ridiculous. I think simply because he's so ugly and monstrous looking that people just hate him off the bat. That's that's messed up. Like, Frankenstein might have been a good guy. We just never found out.
I'm just saying, okay, he's really ugly and his game's a little ugly. So that's why people don't like him. And I think I voted for him because I'm a Sixer fan. Like, there you go. My bias is there. Everyone has their own personal bias towards how they feel about the person as a person. Look at Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby and what's his name? Jay Cutler, both tied. They both got 33%.
I voted Cutler.
You voted Cutler. A lot of people did. Cutler, yeah, his face is punchable. But look at the person. That guy that had a ton of talent, didn't reach nearly to like the height of his potential. That's annoying. He smokes cigarettes. He's diabetic. Which I know he gets diabetic.
He has type 1 diabetes. He has no control over that.
People hold illnesses in regard. No, that sounded really bad. I didn't mean that.
Well,
but anyway, okay. Sidney Crosby, 33%. Oh yeah, Sidney Crosby. He's got a punchable face. But look beyond that. The crybaby aspect, him crying on the ice, him winning the cup, him being good in the most annoying way. And Kelly Olynyk being a dirty player too. That helps him. And let's take a look at the list of the other that we have here. Some other ones: Julian Edelman, Ryan Lochte, A-Rod, OBJ, Eli, Michael Strahan, excuse me. Kurt Schilling, Frank Kaminsky, J.J. Watt, Ronda Rousey, Scotty Hartnell. Like, the list goes on.
Ronda Rousey, can we do that?
I mean, she is an ultimate fighter, and the fact that she would kick both of our asses, probably combined means
Okay,
that
no,
we could
yeah.
probably do it.
We could do it.
But yeah, that's just it. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to that punchable face thing, it's really about how you see them as a person, and that controls everything with it.
Here are my favorite ones that we did not come up with. Frank Kaminsky. I don't know how we didn't come up with it, because like I don't dislike the guy, but he has the most genuinely punchable face out there. He's an ugly guy. He's not like he's a big freakazoid.
But also just like the way like him at Wisconsin, you see, like people hated Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't understand Julian Edelman. I think like he's like the bully type of guy. He's that kid in high school who always messes with people, and I just want to see him get what's coming to him. That's the only justification for punching Julian Edelman in the face. Ryan Lochte, definitely. He's just stupid. That guy
he looks like a wannabe Backstreet Boy, especially with that hair, dyeing the hair, the whole stuff that happened in Rio. He looks like I don't look at him and think like elite swimmer with a non-punchable face. I look at him and I think punchable face, and he wants to sing to me Backstreet's Back, you know?
Yeah, no, I said he also tried to have a reality show, which didn't work because he has zero personality.
What was it called? His reality show?
Probably like "ja." Remember he tried to trademark that word. He's probably the dumbest athlete in the world, right? Like he's the dumbest athlete in America.
He's got to be up there.
He's so stupid.
Oh,
Scott Hartnell.
What would Ryan Lochte do? And it was on for a month.
Oh, I remember there was an interview that he did that went viral. It was on some local news channel, like in LA or somewhere, and they had him on, and he was just so boring that after they stopped the interview, they just shat on him for like a good 3 minutes. Just like no one's gonna watch this show. The guys, these are news anchors. It's not like how bored you have to be for news anchors to be like, that guy sucks. Like that was literally what happened. But Andrew Luck, he missed Andrew Luck. I feel bad punching him in the face. He seems like a real nice guy.
Yeah, and he's probably got a lot of other concussions he's got to worry about. I don't look at Andrew Luck and want to punch him. I didn't think that was that great of a one.
A-Rod, though. A-Rod for sure.
Yeah, look at all the steroid stuff. That's back to it. But yeah, A-Rod's really bad. Just like a lot of people. And based on your perception, how you feel about them or whatever team they play for, it's a lot easier to punch them because of that.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to punch Kelly Olynyk in the face because I root for the Celtics. And I also think he gets a bad – I'm going to stick by that. Kelly Olynyk gets a real bad rap. He's not a bad guy. He's just quiet and weird. Like come on.
So you're telling me that quiet and weird people aren't punchable nowadays? Aren't those the people that get bullied? Aren't those the people that get bullied in high school?
Well, not if you're 7 feet tall, you don't. But I think that he's a weird guy. He's Canadian, which that's double the weirdness.
That's the most punchable nationality there is.
It's got to be, right? I think that he's definitely not doing himself any favors with the facial hair ponytail combo or bun combo. That whole situation is like he doesn't have he looks like a wannabe Matisyahu. It's awful. So I think he gets but he doesn't help himself. Now that I'm talking it out, he deserves to get punched in the face. I'm doing a 180.
Oh man!
So yeah,
he should get a really good poll. We'll have a new one every week. Really, take a look at stuff. We got a few in the works, but obviously we won't reveal it till it comes out. I think it'll come out on Tuesday or Wednesday. Podcasts are coming out Thursdays. For now, that's going to do it for us at the Jon and Lebo show. Follow us on Twitter, show's Twitter, each of our individual Twitters. Whatever you want. Enjoy the Stanley Cup. Try to enjoy the NBA Finals Game 4, even though you know it's going to happen. And take care, and we'll be with you next week.